Happy Thursday! I'm just a girl in her Dan's, having a good week.
In my Dan's challenge.
Dan Murrell,
Hello.
Danielle, Radford.
Hello.
I'm Roth, Cornet. But the important thing is, I got my Dan's here, which is really good for me because we have a lot to dive into today. We have some important things to talk about. I also want to circle back to some things that happened earlier this week because why not? We can do that. We can do whatever
we want.
Dan, on
Yeah.
this. Dan's? Let's talk about this Dark Phoenix. Okay, we want to talk about the trailer, of course, and sort of break down our reactions to the trailer, what we think about the movie, the future of the X-Men, all of those good things. However, our own Billy the Business has to run the show today behind the camera. He's doing the TriCaster. Oh. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Does that have a music cue on it? Anyway, spoiler alert. He has to run the TriCaster today. That's not the spoiler. And he has some feelings, so I have volunteered to step in for him and express his feelings about what has happened with this trailer, and then a follow-up Simon Kinberg interview, who's the director of the film. Simon Kinberg did an interview with EW following the trailer, and here's what Billy the Business has to say about it. Where he totally took a somewhat vague moment from the trailer and spoiled the ever-loving shit out of it because Fox knows the movie is terrible and doesn't want you thinking about the plot before you go in and even see through. He has the balls to say that this is a shocking movie in the interview. Well, not if you frolicking spoil everything 4 months before it comes out. Which isn't necessarily depicting, I'd like to run the disclaimer that that's not necessarily expressing our views on the trailer. But however, I will say I'm aligned with Billy on the interview. It was very odd, which we'll get into. But first, let's talk about that trailer. What'd you guys think?
We talked about it a little bit, but it does seem like it's hitting the same beats as the last time that they tried to do Dark Phoenix. We got to see more Storm being Storm, and that was always great. I like the way that character looks like they've started to develop her. But yeah, it looks so much it looks not exactly like, but really close to what we've already seen with the Phoenix. And that character has so much history that you don't have to borrow so much from that first movie because there's so much in the comics.
Dan?
I'm puzzled and a little shocked, if I'm being honest. This is one of the most head-scratching strategies for publicizing a movie that I've seen in quite some time, which is we'll talk about the interview, but let's 85% give away probably the biggest shocking or one of the biggest twists in this movie, just in the trailer. Let's just give it away where you could have built some mystery as to who it was that was killed.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like, we'll just tell you right now. Okay. And then
Another spoiler alert.
Yeah, well, we have to.
You have to. When have you ever had to have a spoiler
I have to
on a
spoil
trailer?
a story. We were talking about this interview. We were talking about Simon Kinberg. We can't put the link in there because the link is a spoiler.
Yeah.
I'm
Befuddled?
I'm befuddled by
Yeah.
this. Just the concept, the idea of a marketing strategy is, we'll just tell you everything that happens in the movie.
Yeah. So, all right. Now here comes the massive, huge, for sure, definitely, 100%. These are
Not
spoilers.
even confirmed spoiler by the director
By
himself.
the director from the interview. So if you don't want to know and you didn't read the interview and you still think that there's mystery left having watched the trailer, skip out and I'll do this when we come back to the next story. Okay. Oh my God.
I can't believe it. I don't understand the strategy behind that at all.
I'm rarely speechless, but I didn't know about this till this morning when I came in. I am completely... Are they tanking this? Is this like a situation where they're like, we want to make sure that Disney reboots it, so we're just gonna tank it?
Well, do you want to? So here's my thought, because Billy brought up that this is not unlike what we saw happen in Terminator Genisys, where they gave away a huge part of the plot in the trailers.
Sure.
And then can I tell this part about okay, so he had the opportunity to speak to the person that cut that trailer and said, why would you do that? Why would they elect to do that? And he said, basically, the studio was really underconfident and thought that the movie wasn't good and didn't make sense. And so they said, we want to basically tell the audience what the movie is, exactly what it is. before they come in to see it so that they're not having to think about it when they're in the theater. And I think with Simon Kinberg, that is maybe this is a similar strategy and tells us how Fox feels about this movie, potentially. I'm not saying it's definitively that. Maybe it's good, but it gives us a hint how maybe Fox feels about the movie for one thing. And then the second thing is that what they're trying to do is a first weekend curiosity push. Who will die besides her? Because he says in the interview that it's not just her, but other people. He basically lays out the whole movie. And I think they're trying to create a curiosity factor to push people for opening weekend if they're not going to see it because they like it. And he basically said in this interview that without saying it, will there be more X-Men movie with the merger? I don't know. But then he goes into the story about how he was playing This Is the End from The Doors while they were doing makeup tests, which basically tells us, I feel like Feige was like, sure, put Dark Phoenix out, kill everyone, end it, end this series, and we're rebooting it, and we're just going to do our thing. I mean, I'm not saying Kevin Feige literally said that, but that is what's going to happen, and then we are going to see New Mutants on Hulu or something. Thoughts, Dan? I
was cautiously optimistic about this movie because I like the talent involved. I like the cast, mostly. I'm a fan of this group of actors, but it's like they've given up. Mm-hmm. It's like they know what's going to happen, and they just gave up. First of all, to put that in the trailer, and I guess we should outright say, because we haven't, we've given 2 spoiler alerts, so final spoiler alert if you don't want to know, but to imply and basically tell the audience that Jean Grey kills Mystique in the movie, in the trailer for the movie, when that is arguably the biggest star in the cast.
Yes.
Not a shocker that she would leave the franchise. I was honestly surprised she came back for this movie.
Me too.
But still, to very heavily imply that in the trailer. But then to do this interview with Entertainment Weekly, where any shred
that looks straight up Farscape. I'm sorry.
Awful. It's like Jennifer Lawrence is like, I'll do it if you can do in 20 minutes.
20 minutes. That's what you get.
But then to do that interview where he just straight up, the first question is, so why'd you kill Mystique?
Yeah.
And he's just like, well, we wanted to, as Billy said, his answer was, we wanted to show that this is a movie where shocking things happen. Well, you know what takes a lot of the shock out of the shocking things happen? When you tell people about it ahead of time. That makes it a little less shocking.
Yeah.
So it's like they're just giving up. They're just... We're done. Whatever.
And
Screw it.
Just blow up the world, Danielle.
I'm cool with that.
They should.
Yeah.
Go all the way.
Kill everything.
The Dark Phoenix should destroy the galaxy.
Yeah.
Roll credits.
Done.
At least I'll give you the credits, the props for being bold.
And also, it's not super shocking because obviously, to me, what it seems like is going to happen. Again, we've said that Jennifer Lawrence is clearly like, get me in, get me out. She's going to die in the beginning, and so for him to say, well, it's really shocking, right? No, it's the exact same beat they did the last time they did Dark Phoenix, where they killed someone right at the beginning who was a major franchise, well, not major franchise player, but major character in the franchise.
Yeah.
It's not shocking because once you tell us that, then we immediately say, oh, they're just cribbing from that.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of the comics are going to even be involved. It looks like they're just making that, or, not completely, but really close to that movie again.
You know who I feel kind of bad for in all this? Okay, 2 quick things. One, you guys are absolutely right that Jennifer Lawrence has been very vocal about how much she hates the makeups. And then when you look at it, it's so clear that she was like you're on a clock.
Yeah.
2,
and again, I don't mean Farscape is bad. I just mean like it looks dated. It looks like the makeup we would have gotten.
Farscape's fun, but it was a television show.
It was
with
a television
limited
show
budget.
like forever ago.
Yeah, it was a limited budget. Anyway, so it was super fun. But that, and then 2, it's really interesting to me that in the interview he thinks he can spin choosing Mystique, where it's like, we just the emotional resonance, and it's like this character has been a plot device of yours for every single movie. Her character dramatically, radically changes who she is movie to movie. Like, she's the one that's like, I will die, you're my friend forever. Come on. 2, is Jennifer Lawrence has been open about wanting to leave this franchise. And 3, the fan base rebelled against where they took Mystique. So it's like, of course it was Mystique, if anyone, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be everyone because Marvel Studios is going to take this over. Period.
I don't think it'll be everyone. I think that spoiler alert for the Dark Phoenix when he says there's other casualties. Well, Jean Grey.
Yeah.
That's how the story works.
It's literally how it ends.
It's literally how it ends.
Oh, I was going to say I felt bad for Jessica Chastain.
Jessica Chastain.
Yeah.
I don't know. My thing is like, did Chris Claremont like run into like a Stephen King witch at some point? Like, how is it that the greatest, one of the greatest X-Men stories now potentially could produce two of the... It definitely produced one of the worst X-Men movies in The Last Stand, and I will stand by that.
Yeah.
And now
I will
this
last
one,
stand by it.
I will make my last stand on The Last Stand. But this one is certainly not looking great so far, and I hope it shocks the hell out of all of us and turns out to be a great movie. But this doesn't give me... When you resort to telling people what main character you're killing off 4 months before the movie comes out, that does not exhibit to me a great amount of confidence in the film.
No.
If this one turns out bad too, like, what is it with this is one of the best X-Men stories of all time.
The Phoenix Saga should be 2 movies. I'm sorry.
Yes.
It should be the M-Crown Crystal. It should be the Shi'ar Empire. It should be as much of that as you can get in, and then it should be Dark Phoenix. This whole thing about like this little girl is filled with rage, and that's why we have to lock part of her personality away, maybe with or without her permission, and then it comes out. These Dark Phoenix movies could be solved by a crap ton of therapy.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, couldn't most things.
True.
Let's okay, so Dan, I was saying I felt bad for Jessica Chastain, who I think is a great actress and in good faith joined this thinking it would be an interesting, fun turn for her, and then it's just become this total shit show, which you could say of any of the actors, frankly. Again, we're hopeful that it'll be good. Maybe it will be good, but just based on this approach to the marketing, if you look at the difference between this and I hate to do this direct comparison, it's just in my head because it's Endgame, where they are holding, we believe they're only showing us the first few minutes of the movie. We believe they are holding a lot back. They're probably not going to even show it before they junket this movie, meaning that the press does their interviews, which is very unusual. They're probably going to show 20 minutes of it. So that denotes that they really do want the secrets to remain secret versus telling the whole story. But you don't feel bad for Jessica Chastain, you said, or you were like, I don't know.
I don't know about her. It just looks, it's a tough sell, like that angle for her, for particularly, as you said, if it's not 2 movies where, you know, this sort of cosmic thing coming into the movie. So I think you have to handle it deftly and well. And it's what I've seen so far is any indication. I worry that maybe it won't be handled so deftly and well, and that she'll just seem like this space weirdo that shows up for no reason and completely incomprehensible. And I hope that's not the case, but yeah,
incomprehensible space weirdo.
Incomprehensible space weirdo, which is a comic book trope.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to feel bad for everyone involved because it's looking more and more like this just. I don't think when they started it was meant to be the last X-Men movie, but I think they found themselves in a circumstance now where it is, at least in this current iteration, and it just seems like they are... I don't know what their strategy is here. The last one wasn't very good. They had a great start. X-Men First Class, I like that movie a lot. X-Men Days of Future Past, great movie.
Yeah,
I love that movie, and it really set them up to go wherever they wanted, and then Apocalypse... I really don't like that movie. It was a way to blow a great character and to really completely make one of a great villain just completely generic and just shout the same things that everyone shouts and make things fly through the air. And so now it's like, I hope it doesn't end with a whimper, but it's looking like that's what's going to happen, and that sucks because I like this group of actors.
Blow it up.
Blow up the galaxy.
Blow up the galaxy. Blow up, because it opens on June 7th. Again, we want to underscore that all of this information is available months before the movie comes out. So it's like, how do you continue? The other question and challenge I think they have is like, what do you do next in your marketing campaign? Like, our next marketing move is to show you the movie. Like, what do you... Like, release the script? What's going like? Do
you think, because this movie was supposed to come out in February originally, do you think Simon Kinberg just had a spoiler interview on the books with EW? And it was still on his calendar, and he's just like, screw it.
No, it was supposed to come out in November.
Well, right, but then it got moved to February. Because remember when the marketing for this has been effed up since the beginning. Because remember when they released the first major trailer for this movie and it said February, and then the next day Fox moved the release date, and we all said, what the hell are they doing? They can't. They just announced the release date, and the next day they moved it. Nope. It's like chickens with their heads cut off over there. Nobody knows what the hell they're doing.
Well, I I genuinely suspect that this has been a big negotiation with the merger, and I legitimately think that that's, like they were able to look at the movies and try and start to think about how they were going to bring these things together, or what they wanted to do in the path forward. And if they had confidence in either of those movies, and it's not that we don't want them to have confidence in either of those movies, like they clearly feel fine about Deadpool, they'll figure that out. But if they had confidence in New Mutants or Dark Phoenix, this wouldn't have happened. And my strong suspicion is truly that they were like, find a way to end this version, because this is like, find your way that feels good to you to clean it up, because this is the last one. That's my guess. We'll see what happens in June, many months from now. But the other thing that I wanted to ask you guys, and I'm only a couple of episodes in, so this won't be any spoilers, but don't spoil me if I guess right. But are you guys watching Umbrella Academy? I
am. I'm only in the first. I think I'm in like the second or third episode. Okay. So I also I'm not in too many either.
Me too. And so I'm in the first or second episode of Umbrella Academy, and if this is true, please don't tell me, but even just in those first two episodes, I have a very strong suspicion that what we're seeing unfold is a Dark Phoenix story with one of the characters in particular, and story with one of the characters, and you know who I'm talking about. And I have this feeling, because I'm loving the show so far. I don't know if you guys are watching it, but it's great.
It's really good.
It's really good.
There's a talking orangutan.
I haven't finished Daredevil yet.
And he's Pogo is like got so much pathos. Like that character is incredibly relatable.
I'm not gonna lie, Pogo is what sold me. Like Pogo, when Pogo came in, I was like, all right, I'm in now. And he looks good.
He looks so like the effects on him are so great, but also it's
all of the effects are really good.
But it's the emotional weight that Pogo lends. He's kind. I know this is so crazy, but he's kind of like the moral center of this crazy family, and you really have so much empathy for him. It's really really good. But anyway, I was just thinking, wow, won't it be strange if this character, especially this character,
and the way that
they're drawing her, ends up telling the story so much better than anybody else has been able to craft.
Because it's a story that needs a lot of hours.
Yeah, it's not. But again, it's not an exact one-to-one like at all. It's just same idea. In any event, okay.
Pretty similar.
It's great, Dan. Umbrella Academy. Check it out.
I'll put it on the effing woodpile with 47 other shows that I need to watch.
You know who's not on the list for Suicide Squad 2? Did you hear about this? Will Smith. He's out.
Yeah.
Did you hear this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you know about this?
Did you know about this? Did you hear? Thank you.
Yes.
Yay. I don't really feel like I earned that, but I appreciate it. So as all of us and your mother have heard, Will Smith has said he is out of Suicide Squad 2 due to scheduling issues. He, of course, played one of the two characters most people liked, Deadshot and Harley Quinn. And it's already been reported that that this is a reboot, that it's not really a sequel, but that this is the interesting thing. I believed that the only two characters that they may include again were Harley and Deadshot, because of all of the reasons, and that James Gunn would just have it be like the Avengers. It's just a different lineup of the different characters. Not that they would recast, but just. So now I guess, do we think that Harley will be in it, or should it just be a completely new cast?
Let's just start over.
Yeah, well, the great thing about the Suicide Squad comics is that there is an alternating and rotating cast that's already built into the DNA. And I love Suicide Squad. I love Gail Simone. I love all of the work that's done on the comics. And so that actually brings me some hope, because it seems as though the people who are doing it get what this is. And that's what it is. There are always different characters that come in and go out. People die. People learn lessons. They're all these lovable losers who, some find redemption, some don't. That's the heart of this series. So for me, it's exciting.
Yeah.
And I loved, Margot Robbie. She also has so much else that she's working on in the DC universe specifically.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me.
And
elsewhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me, and I'm really excited for those projects as well. So yeah, I'm pumped. I'm ready for this.
So you think totally new characters?
I think so, because if it were Will Smith and Margot Robbie, that's one thing, because you can headline around those two. You can sell a movie. They largely sold the first Suicide Squad movie around those two. You could sell a movie around those two. But if Will Smith is gone, I love Margot Robbie and I liked her as Harley Quinn, but she already has her own now franchise that she's sort of carrying, and then without Will Smith, you're basically giving her 2 franchises that she now has to, at least for the first movie, she has to carry that first one by herself for a minute. Even story-wise, if you're introducing all these new characters, it's got to somehow revolve around Harley Quinn for a little bit, and you already have that in another. So I just wouldn't put that on her.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say, Margot Robbie, you now have to carry both of these, and we have to figure out how to narratively make your character carry both of these. Let Margot Robbie do what she's doing. It seems like they've got some good plans for her. They're building a whole thing around her. That's great. And I would start over with Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Even if that means we have the same characters, not Harley Quinn, not a different Harley Quinn.
Yeah, no, not
but
recasting.
even some of the same characters or a couple of them, and we just recast, or we figure out a way to just completely reboot that whole thing. But I think the more you tie it in with Margot Robbie, the more you have to like bend over backwards and stretch to make things fit. And if it's just for Margot Robbie, I would say start over, clean slate, new cast, new characters.
Give me Catman. Catman is amazing in the comics, and also it's a great way to be able to introduce villains that you can use later, and either again have them do the redemption arc or have them still be villains, and you can use them elsewhere. It's a great way to expand out the universe. Yeah, I'm really excited.
You can keep Amanda Waller, I think, maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, you can.
She's pretty essential.
She's the kind of person that would just be like, all right, screw that first iteration. That was awful.
Yeah,
all right, we're gonna try this again.
Who was the M that was a link between, like, weren't there a couple of M's that were links between Bonds, different Bonds with the same M?
Judi Dench went across Bonds.
Yeah.
Judi Dench spanned reboots.
Yeah.
That's how good of an M she was. Actually, a lot of M's span. Like the first M was a few different Bonds, and then there have been fewer, I think, M's than there have been Bonds.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
And obviously Moneypenny. Just spanned forever.
Lois Maxwell was Moneypenny forever into the 80s, I think.
It was so fascinating to watch Moneypenny turn from like the attractive young secretary that he flirted with to his mom over the years.
It's true.
And it was just the same Moneypenny the whole time. In any event, Bond talk. So yeah, in the same, I personally think that they should just do totally new characters because I think it's slightly less distracting. James Gunn really gets to own it. But I do ask us this: do we think that James Gunn has an interesting both pressure and opportunity with this to prove a point about what he can do and bring creatively? Like, do you think he wants to give a little FU to Disney by creating a big success out of this?
I don't think he has to prove a point creatively because
he's great.
Everybody knows that he's pulled this off before. I think that, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if he's personally vindictive toward Disney. I know that that's certainly how it would be spun if it were successful.
Yeah.
And if at that time in 2 or 3 years, whenever this movie would come out, if with post Endgame, if the MCU were perhaps going through a transitional growth period and just maybe we're not having the same kind of success, of course that's how that would be spun.
Oh yeah.
That's how it would be covered. That's how the conversation around it would be. But I would be surprised if James Gunn is seeking personal redemption, or personal revenge for this, and more just like, this is an opportunity for me to sort of
just work of all, and do my thing and do it well, right? Okay, so speaking of doing your thing and doing it well, there's a lot of us that love movies. Maybe we have a movie that we really, really love, but there's one thing about it that we think could just bring it over the top and make it sing just perfect. And for one man, Adam Sachs, the creator of, quote, digitally erase the rat from the end of The Departed Kickstarter. This is the hill he wanted to die on. For him, he says, quote, it has always bothered me that a movie as good as The Departed has such a cheesy ending. And I recently realized it could be fixed by digitally erasing the rat from the last shot. In the tradition of Steven Spielberg and George Lucas digitally altering their movies after the fact, I want to digitally erase the rat from the end of The Departed. But unlike Lucas and Spielberg's changes, this will make The Departed a much better movie. Anyway, Warner Brothers stepped in and shut down his Kickstarter, and to which he had Warner Brothers. And then he stepped in and said, okay, well, thank you all very, very much for calling me an idiot or supporting me, because either way, you made me trend in the news. And by the way, Warner Brothers, there's someone that has already done this, apparently.
There we go. I knew that was going to happen.
Exactly.
It's going to be on YouTube, and you can just swap it out. Watch The Departed, then go to YouTube and watch that scene, and you created your own. It's like the Jar Jar Binks-less cut that fans have done.
Yeah.
Yes. The rat list.
This is the most ridiculous thing, and I love it so much.
It's so stupid. The video's been uploaded to YouTube, what he put on Kickstarter, so you can see it on YouTube. But it's great because he accounts for every penny of what he's asking for. It's like, I need to buy a Blu-ray copy of The Departed. That's number one. And it's like, I need to get a Blu-ray player so I can watch it. I need this much for a Ripper. And then like he was literally gonna go to like, I'm gonna hire an effects artist, and then it cuts to the effects artist, and it's just like, people hire me to do stuff, so I'm excited about this, I guess. And then like he was gonna like scan it to 35 millimeters so it would match the rest of the movie, and then bring it back in and edit it back in.
And then he was gonna make 50 copies, right?
My favorite was he said, and then I need to buy a 70 pack of Blu-rays. And then the last thing was he said, because this is the intellectual property of Warner Brothers, I can't sell this. He's like, but what I will do is I will buy 70 Blu-ray copies of The Departed, open them, throw away the disc, and put in my Blu-ray of the movie and send it to you. Which may have been what made Warner Brothers say,
step in and be like, you actually can't do that.
They did, to be fair, they sued themselves out of someone buying 71 copies of The Departed on Blu-ray. Yeah. So who's the real loser there?
You, Warner Brothers. He in his response too, it was really interesting how he said the exact amount of money that A Star Is Born made this week, saying like, well, I thought about fighting them, but then I figured I have less money in my bank account than they made off A Star Is Born this week. $700,000. Good job. Yeah, exactly. That's before the re-release this weekend, the extended cut.
I happen to agree with him in that I love The Departed, and then that last shot is just so on the nose. Like, get it? He's a rat, and they kept talking about rats the whole movie. So here's a rat. Like, I think it would have been. I agree. It would have been much more subtle if it had just been that shot of the state house, which is like that was Matt Damon's goal the whole movie, and then the last shot is this, sad for him kind of melancholy thing of just like never got there. Like it's I will always be a dream. This effing rat comes. I get it. He's a rat.
There's a couple of people that like the rat shot because they think that what he's really creating is a satirical comedy with The Departed. But I feel like that's a reading that you could make. Either way, you and Adam Sachs, unfortunately, are for now until Scorsese himself steps in and makes a call. And you're going to have to live with the rat. We're just going to have to live with that rat.
Well, Marty will never change a frame.
He will never do it.
He's a fierce film preservationist. Even if it weren't his movie, he would be against.
I wonder what he thinks about this. Like, do you think he has a sense of humor about this?
I think he either really, really, really does or really does not. And I don't think that there's anything in between.
I agree. Like, he does not seem like the guy that generally is like a chuckle bunch. But
I could also see him finding this thing hilarious.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
If we ever get to interview Martin Scorsese, the number one most important question that we will ask him, this is a Screen Junkies promise, is what did you think about the Rat campaign?
We'll put that at the end.
Yeah. That'll be last question. Last question. When they're giving you the rap. Hey, just real quick, do you remember the Kickstarter campaign? I bet he has no idea. He's like, I'm making Netflix's most expensive movie ever.
Money? What? Huh? Kickstarter? Huh?
What's a Kickstarter?
Oh my God! Explaining a Kickstarter to Martin Scorsese is a video.
It would be pretty amazing.
I would watch that video.
I would watch that video.
All right, we're going to talk about The Masked Singer, but I want to do a little bit of cleanup from earlier this week. We have to print a retraction, which is my favorite thing to say on this show. Because we can't. We can't do that. It's a video. So 2 things really quick. Rotten Tomatoes, we talked about that earlier this week, and that they had changed their policy around the audience anticipation score, which they did. And they actually did change the physical look of the site. And someone had tweeted Dan and myself saying that, they removed the median score and they only have the tomato meter score. So just really, I know you guys know this, but really quick recap. The median score is basically if 91% of critics liked the movie, it will give a 91% as the tomato meter score. But the average score that those critics are giving that movie may be about a 7.5, which tells two very different stories about what largely critics think about the movie in terms of its aesthetic success. So, two very different versions, 91% versus 7.5, two different stories. However, someone pointed out, and I actually went to Rotten Tomatoes and I looked up a recent review to make sure they were wrong. And I said, oh yeah, they're right. It's gone now. It used to be right below the tomato meter score and it's no longer there. And then there was a small, for more, like, click here button. But I assumed that meant about the movie, not about the score. But so if you click that, then you see the median score. But I will say this, in our defense, sure, that wasn't exactly accurate, which is why we're talking about here. We want to make sure you guys have the right information, very important. But two, they have obfuscated that score. It's hard to find. And it is not intuitive that you would know to click that. You know, read more doesn't say to me, read more about this score. It says, read more about this movie. Right. To me.
I still think that this should be the only number they use. But that ship has not only sailed, it's across the ocean.
Yes. Yeah. So. It's very, but we wanted to do a little bit of cleanup around that. I know you guys, one other really quick thing, PSA moment, 30-second PSA, is that yesterday you guys talked about the lawsuit. Was it yesterday? Were you here?
Yes,
Danielle?
we did.
Yeah,
we talked extensively about the Hulu Fox lawsuit.
The Hulu Fox lawsuit. And this is the only thing that I'll add that is a really big concern for me about that specifically is that when you talk about how actors and writers and directors are paid, when you use this, it's basically the old studio system. Used to be you could pay an actor $240 a week. For example, Marilyn Monroe, I think for Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, made a ridiculously low number. She was getting paid X number a week, and that's it. That's all she got, and it was this huge hit. So when you talk about the licensing piece of what happens and how you pay actors for streaming services in particular, this gets even more complex. So they were sued for lying about how, or basically cheating, how much the money they were getting. Is the same thing that happened with The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead, AMC makes The Walking Dead and they also release it, which means they can fudge the numbers. Versus if you make it, if you're the studio that makes it, you're only going to sell it for the highest available market price because you want to make the most money. But if you're selling it to yourself, you might sell it at a lower price, so you have to pay the talent less. But the other added thing about streaming initiatives right now and how dominant they are is that those are buyouts, which means the actors and the talent do not get things like residuals and they don't get points in movies. And where that's going to get really complicated in the next 2 years is that I believe the unions, which were designed to prevent things like Marilyn Monroe only getting this low number for a huge hit movie, are going to strike. And that's going to be really bad for everything. That's my PSA about that. If anyone from Hollywood is watching, let's not screw each other. The Masked Singer, though, dude.
Oh, I had one myself. While we're doing mea culpas. Yeah. I got a fact wrong on Monday's show, and I'm trying to be better because I don't like to get facts wrong on the air. But I did. I got a fact wrong on Monday's show because I thought that Octavia Spencer had won an Oscar for producing Green Book, but she did not because she was an executive producer. Right. And I was incorrect. I was factually incorrect on that, and I apologize. I should have done a little more research. Well,
you guess who's human, Dan? Every living person. Yep. There you go. We're going to have to live with our flaws and our humanity, and we are also the victims of too many things to do. And I'm not going to make excuses. We've said our piece. We were wrong, and we cleaned it up. But I do want to talk about the Bee.
Masked Singer.
Oh. And I know you guys don't love this, so you'll be glad. Some of you guys love it. Some of you don't. Mm-hmm. This will be our last Masked Singer discussion.
Till season 2.
Till season 2. Danielle, Dan, are you pleased with these results? Are you pleased with the finale?
I'm happy with it.
I'm very happy with the results. I think that the right creature won.
I understand. I do understand. I understand why you're upset. My mom also equally upset.
Good.
All my aunties were cranky.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
I'm with your cranky aunties. I'm your new cranky auntie, and I'll tell you why. Well, two very, very different reasons. One, I was watching Umbrella Academy and watching and letting the DVR load up the finale, and I'm so glad I did, because as I scrolled through, it was literally an hour and 25 minutes of recap
The
before
first hour
you got
was completely useless.
I watched it. By the time you got to the actual show, it was an hour and 25 minutes in. Okay, so that's one thing. I just think it's lame. Figure it out.
I agree.
So that's one. But two is this, and more importantly, Gladys freaking Knight. You are so disrespectful. You do not put Gladys freaking Knight, living legend, who is able to come out. How old is she? She's like in her
80s,
freaking 80s,
Yeah.
who is able to come out in her 80s and sing modern songs like that to the point that they reached into my soul and put her in third freaking place to Donny Osmond and TPain, who, by the way, sounded beautiful, and he deserves a comeback.
But that's the point of the show.
And then I also want to bring up Jenny McCarthy and who she thought TPain was.
I fast forward to that part.
Oh, do you not know who her guest was?
No, what was her guess?
Michael Vick. And this is how she framed it. This is how, no. This is how she framed it. This is important. She goes, monster, I just think, you're somebody who's like perceived as being a monster, but you're not really, which I was like, yeah, that sounds right. Michael Vick is who she says. And then when they reveal that it's TPain, she goes, I'm sorry, I thought you were Michael Vick. And he goes, yeah, I love my dogs. I love my dogs.
Oh, that's what that meant.
Yes.
Okay.
Stop
I think Jenny may have been projecting a little bit there about people being perceived as being monsters that really aren't. Like,
Take that, Jenny McCarthy.
take that.
Like, what are you talking about? What if the producers put Michael Vick in a... First of all, is there any indication that Michael Vick can sing?
No, none whatsoever.
Much less like that.
Secondly, the PR nightmare that would have occurred if Monster had won the show and
was
taken his head off and it was
Michael
Michael Vick. It boggles the mind.
As a host, wouldn't you be concerned if you thought for a second the producers would make that decision and do that to you?
Yeah. Why that would force you to then be on that show and deal with the fallout in interviews for months?
Yeah.
Oh, Lordy.
I will say I wanted Gladys over Donny Osmond. Like it was Monster for me and then Gladys.
But
I mean,
will
TPain
say,
sounded great. Yeah. He really did.
I think that proves this. If people knew it was Gladys Knight competing against Donny Osmond, competing against T-Pain, then yes, Gladys Knight probably would have won. But that's the point of the show, is you don't know who it is, and you're voting for showmanship. You're voting just based strictly on voice. Gladys Knight has a great voice, but T-Pain has an amazing voice too.
Are we saying that T-Pain is... I think he was great. Like, truly, like, he deserves... I think this was an amazing move. I think he is the smartest person to have done this show.
Agreed.
Like, this show did more for
perfect.
T-Pain than any other person that did it, where it's like, does that hurt or help this person? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, for T-Pain, he was really smart to do it and proved... more than proved his point.
Yes.
How are they going to find another person next year that has that particular point to prove? He was like, you guys said I couldn't sing, and look at me sing.
I think that there will be some
this
celebrities that
monster
are
outfit.
clamoring to do this show now.
Yeah.
Because
Think
they'll
so?
see what it can do. I think this will help T-Pain's career.
Yep.
I think it'll help Gladys Knight's career. Donny Osmond doesn't need help. Donny Osmond
He's fine.
has, as he said last night, a nightly show in Vegas that he's been doing
Yeah.
for years. He's totally fine. But for me, I think the right person won, because watching those final three performances, I even though I was pretty sure I knew who each of them were, I probably would have gone maybe Donnie 3, Gladys Knight 2, but I think T-Pain absolutely deserved to win. I think not only did he have the vocal performance, he had the showmanship, he got the crowd on his side. I thought Gladys Knight was great, and if she'd sung maybe a different song from earlier in the show last night, maybe she would have won, but I didn't think it was her best choice of song. It was a great performance, but they all gave great performances.
Yeah. I think a fix to that like hour and a half problem is you invite the other contestants back and have them sing without the mask.
Yeah.
I think that's how you
That's
solve
fun.
that.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of go through and still do the recap and be like, and here this person is singing the song that whatever.
Yeah.
And then have them do it without the mask.
I agree. I mean, look, again, all respect to T-Pain. I think he was really smart to do the show. I think it did a lot for him, and man, he really can sing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
There can be no one to argue about that now. I think, although people will, they'll be like, it was pre-recorded and then he was in the thing. I'm sure that's out there already. You can tell they were singing live.
Yeah.
I have a theory about some of the people we might see next year. I don't know. This is pure speculation. I think we get a Mandy Moore.
Oh.
I think we get a Mandy Moore. I think that if they do that schedule again where they're getting everyone like in and out and really, really easy and filming it, at a different time so that it doesn't conflict with schedules, I do. I think Mandy Moore, I think that we already know that she's a great actress. I think she wants to remind people she can sing.
What will her outfit be?
Oh, I don't know. What would a Mandy Moore? I mean, a giant piece. No, because if it was a giant piece of candy, then that's a giveaway.
Yeah.
She just comes out as a Twix.
Yeah.
Or like a lollipop, or like a candy cane. That would be too
Although,
much.
again, I want to reemphasize that I think they need to change how they do this show.
Yeah.
And say that I really think it should be new people every episode. And that it's like 3 of them and they sing and then one of them wins and then all of the masks come off.
Because then you could get a Hugh Jackman.
Yes.
Or you could get a huge star because it's not 3 or 4 or however many days. Because Donny Osmond said he'd been going back every night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing that means they taped it over the course of maybe a week or a few days, maybe a long weekend. Yeah. But I agree. If it's episode by episode, then every single episode has the chance of it being
A Britney Spears.
or like on the Korean version, the Ryan Reynolds, Ryan Reynolds, or you could get a huge star every single episode potentially, as opposed to, hey, we need to lock you down to do a 4-day shoot potentially and to memorize 8 different songs and dances. It's not that. It's just, come on, do one episode. Sort of like the lip sync battle where they get like Tom Holland and Zendaya.
Yeah.
They get huge A-list people because you come in, you do one performance, and you're done.
And you leave. It's for just a few hours of your time. Yeah. I mean, well, they'd have to do all the costume tests and all that. But that said, I agree. I think one every episode, and then a couple of different songs, maybe 1 or 2, and then you vote, and then because then also, the judges I don't think should be judging. Like whenever I saw them saying to Gladys Knight, like giving feedback on her performance, when we knew it was her, giving feedback on performance, I'm like, who the F are you to talk to Gladys Knight and give her feedback? No, no.
But it was B.
The judges.
It was B.
It was Gladys Knight, and we knew it. But
Also
the
for me,
judges,
especially because half of them aren't singers.
that's my point. Like, who are you to give feedback? So, but not that I don't like them. I'm just saying, like, their role there should not be to do that. Their role there should be the contestants to see if they can beat each other by guessing correctly in a contained window of time with a contained number of views, and then clues. And then if they can, that's really impressive. You know what I mean? And also for us, it's more exciting because it's like we don't have the benefit of a whole week and the internet to figure it out. We also have to figure it out in the moment.
I've determined next year I'm not going because only 1 week did I do any kind of like Twitter thing, and people had already guessed so many people, and some were right and some were wrong, but there were already names I saw that ended up being right that I was like, I've determined next year I'm not doing any external looking at or even research, because while they didn't make it easy they didn't make it hard to figure out who it was. The speculation itself was certainly much easier when you have an entire internet
Working on it.
figuring it out.
Yeah. Guys, do we feel good about The Masked Singer overall?
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
I hope they do make some format changes for the second season.
Yeah.
I really
same.
do.
Well, we hope that those of you that have enjoyed sticking with us for The Masked Singer, we thank you for that. We thank you for sticking with us. We thank you for being you. You guys are great. I had a really interesting talk about YouTube in general today on a completely different, this morning on a very different kind of a call. And one of the things that I noted there that it was pleasing to be able to actually say was that our audience here on SJU is one of the best I've ever seen. They are supportive, they are kind, they are thoughtful, they're really smart. Like, I'm always impressed with the kinds of comments that we get that are, I will learn things and have a new perspective all the time. So thank you for being those humans in a world where those humans are few and far between. We really, really, really appreciate it. And you can tune in for Movie Fights today with your Dans and Coy Jandro, Emma Fife, and Clee Wiggins.
Oh, that's going to be amazing.
And Mr. Hal Rudnick.
Yes, it's a good fight. I've seen the questions. I've seen the answers. I think it's going to be fun.
Yes. Thank you. Sorry we got stuff wrong. We try to be right. I'm mostly wrong a lot. I'm writing a book about it. Thank you.